Hi, this is Summer, and today I thought I would show you how we make our historically inspired headdresses. Now, we usually wear these to our local Dickens of a Christmas event. They're really great if you don't feel like wearing a bonnet. And you can make them all different ways, like this is just fake flowers and ribbons. Or like if you have leftovers of your dress, like these two, we made matching bonnets and muffs with our dresses. So this is just leftover scrap fabric. Make cute little bows. Or like if you have leftover beads, these are leftover beads from a project. So I just got some paper flowers and made a fancy one like that. And again, just fake flowers from the floral section. So it really can be whatever you want. So today I'm going to use like this as a stash busting project. So over the years people give us all kinds of stuff because they know we sew. So I just went to our storage building and pulled up anything I thought could be relevant. There's a whole bunch more behind me, some ribbons and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through how we make them. Now they're not necessarily historically accurate, but it goes well with historical outfits. So, let's get started. We'll put these over here. Alright, so there are 3 different methods we have used to make the bases for our floral headdresses. The first one is floral wire. And you can pretty much get floral wire at any craft store. The main thing that you need to think about is using a wire that will hold its shape and not spring back. You can see there's also some like pre-cut stuff that you can get. And, well, it's like, okay. You can even just use, like, here's one that we use floral wire for. And we just covered it with a bit of trim. And it's a little bit softer, but you could go ahead and double your wire up if you wanted to make it sturdier. The second method is actually just using stems from faux flowers themselves. Some of them are just plastic, but some of them come with wires. So like this one is just the wires from the actual pieces of fake flowers woven kind of together and then wrapped with some floral tape. Or like this one right here is literally just the stems woven together, and then I just put some ribbon around it to kind of make it all look cohesive. And then the third method is taking a larger gauge wire. So this is just fence wire from the TSC 17 gauge. You could probably get it a little bit smaller of a diameter, but this one holds its shape, so that's why we chose it. We also use it when we make our bonnets. But anyway, you can take that, and like this one is that 17 gauge wire, and I just covered it with a bit of ribbon that I just kind of whipped on there. Same thing with this one, is just a bit of wire with leftover scraps of fabric covering it and whipped on it. For tools, you're going to need something to cut your wire with, so I've got myself a little pair of wire cutters. And then these are some needle nose pliers. They'll be great for bending the wire, or they even have a built-in cutter as well. And then a pair of scissors for cutting your fake flowers and ribbon, and your thread and a needle to help cover up the wire if you want to go that route. And then it might also be helpful if you want to like put decorations together without a needle and thread, to have maybe a hot glue gun or something. So to get started on the base of your headdress, what you're going to want to do is get a rough measurement of the crown of your head from ear to ear. I like to do slightly above the ears just so that the decorations will hang a little bit below to kind of cover up these junctions right here. And you can either measure this with a measuring tape, or you can just take a bit of wire and fit it to your head and just keep checking in the mirror to make sure that it sits about where you want it to, and that everything kind of is bent and melded to where it sits as flat to your head as possible. We're looking for a low profile. To get started, I cut a bigger length of wire than what I will need to make the double headbands, and then blunted one end by bending over the raw edge and clamping it down until it rests against the wire. It's okay to leave a small loop because we will be stitching through it later to secure the ends. Bend the wire into a rough headband shape and then place it on top of your head to determine where you would like to make the bend to form a second headband. I would recommend the bands end somewhere between your temple and the top of your ear. Once you are happy with the placement, mark the spot for the bend, I just use my fingers, and use your needle nose pliers to turn over the wire. Then try to make the second headband the same shape and length as the first one. They are a bit unruly at this point, so just wrangle them in the best you can, and when you are happy with them both, cut the excess wire off the second band, leaving a little extra raw edge to turn over just like the first one. Go ahead and check the fit of the headbands. This is the point at which you will want to make any final changes to the length of the wire, so take some time to manipulate the shape and study the positioning before moving on to securing the free ends. To join the ends, I doubled up some thread on a needle and tied a knot, leaving a tail. I passed the needle through both ends of the wires and then put the needle in between the threads in the front of the knot to form a loop and pulled it tight. I stitched through the ends many times and also looped the thread in between the bands to tighten it up even more. I then used the tail and the remaining thread to tie a knot. It didn't turn out the neatest, but it doesn't have to look good, it just needs to be secure. Besides, we are going to cover it up later anyway. Alright, so here's where we're at. I spent about 10-15 minutes just kind of fiddling and manipulating the wire to where it has a little bit of tension that's holding it on, and it lays fairly flat. Like, it's not falling off, so that's a good sign. And go ahead and kind of check flipping it and wearing it both ways. You'll find that one way may sit better than the other. It's not bad actually both ways. I kind of think I liked it first way better, but what you'll do is you can pick what side you want to be the front, what side you want to be back, but that's not bad. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cover it now. Yeah. Alright, so before I get started covering anything, I decided to look through all the things that people have given us and kind of make this a bit of a stash busting project. And the color scheme I guess I'm gonna do is blue because that's simply what I had the most of. We've got these blue little paper flowers, and then there's these also blue, but they're kind of more like the plastic, like the fake flowers we have today. And another kind of blue. And again, these are more of the fake flowers, but this one is actually one of the ones that they do have the wire in, so again, if you wanted to make the base just off of some fake wire from the flowers, that'll, I mean, it holds, so you can do that. I haven't decided what like leaf scheme, if I'm going to use any at all, or if I'll end up using like this as the bulk. I've also got this ribbon that I could maybe cover the wire in, but I don't know. It's got a little pie-cotted edge, so I don't know if I want to use that one or if I want to go more green. Kind of do like this. I guess it'll kind of depend on what covers the wire the best. This one's a little thinner, so it might cover it more evenly. This one, oh, I'd maybe have to overlap it, and I don't know. That might be a little bit difficult to do. I think I'm going to go with the green. It seems like the most functional, like the easiest to do. Alright, So I'm going to start by putting the ribbon on at the end that just has the bend and not the join. That way the ribbon will kind of help hold this even more. And I'm just going to start by putting, I'm going to set this down for a minute and go ahead and just put a little bit of thread on. And I don't even tie a knot when I'm going to put on thread. I just make several stitches in the same spot, kind of like a hand sewing version of a back stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, and then just put the needle through the loop, pull it tight, and then it's secure. Alright, so just going to grab the other side kind of directly across it. You could maybe try to pin this, but I'm just gonna struggle until I got it sort of secured on there enough. Now I'm just gonna kind of do a whip stitch. You could maybe try to do a stitch that's a little more hidden, but I just don't care, and if somebody's gonna judge your stuff for that, then that is a them problem and not a you problem. So just doing some whip stitches. Okay, tail. And you can bend your wire a little bit more open if you wish to. You can always bend it back when you're done. Might make that a little bit easier to work around. And it will get easier as you get more of your ribbon secured on there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and sit down and finish whipping this on. I've just left a little excess so that I can figure out how I'm going to join it later when I get all the way around the world here. Okay, so I stitched it together until I physically couldn't really get it to wrap around itself anymore. So I just folded this ribbon over the edge and then started whipping this side right here to this side of the ribbon where it's folded over. And so I'm right at the tip of that right now, so I'm going to pass it through. I'm going to try to anyway. This might take a couple tries because I can't see the wire in there. But the goal is to pass it to the other side and kind of do the same thing and start traveling down the back. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. And just going to flip it and start whipping these two together. Take a little finagling. Okay, not too bad. Then when it gets to where I feel like I can reach the other wrapped part of this ribbon around, I'll just start kind of putting it together like I was on this side. Alright, so I've made it to the end. I think I'm going to kind of trim both of these down a little bit and then just kind of fold them in and stitch them together so that it's kind of a similar look to this other one. So here goes nothing. Let's just snip this. Do it a little bit long at first. Then I'll try to fold them both. I might need to trim it just a little bit more. It's not bad, but I don't want it to be too long. Just sew them together kind of like the other side. After finishing stitching them together, I then used the thread tail I had left at the beginning to form a knot. I did this by taking all the threads and forming them into a loop with my fingers, and then bringing all the tails of the threads through that loop. Then, while holding the junction of the loop against the ribbon, I pulled the tails to vanish the loop and form a knot. Our base structure is now complete. Not too bad. It did take me a hot minute just because I chose to sew it, but if you wanted to pick a faster method, you could maybe, like I said before, try the floral tape and wrap it around it. Or if you're adventurous and want to try it out, you could maybe try gluing it. I've never done that, so I don't know how it would go, but close. And it being velvet ribbon, it kind of feels like it grips it better. But now is the fun part. We get to decorate it. And most of my stuff is wire based, like these roses, they all have wire. These ones don't, but I'm gonna just kind of play around and see what I can put together that looks cohesive. So it's just kind of trial and error, put stuff together and edit, and then see what I like. And that's kind of the beauty of it. You can kind of take out what you don't like and move things around if something feels off. And so I'm just gonna get started playing around. To attach the flowers, I place the bouquet between the bend and the headbands and wrap the ends around the wire, wrapping from back to the front, weaving over to the other side, and wrapping it around again and tucking in the ends to secure it. Then I rearrange the flower heads so that they are all facing forward. I was going to add in some of these leaves, but I decided that the greens didn't really match, so I left them out. Then I took one end of the large sheer ribbon and secured it over the bouquet wires. I used my hands to form loops in the ribbon, gathering it in to create a backdrop for the flowers. I use up to about half the ribbon for this, and then secure it by cutting a length of floral wire, slipping it through the base, and twisting the ends to set them into place. I repeat this process with the remaining ribbon, but make my ribbon loops a little bigger to create more depth. I spent some time weaving some of the ribbon loops among the flower heads and adjusting everything so that the piece looks even and full. I had a remnant piece of this small sheer ribbon, so I cut the piece in half and clipped V's into the ends to give it a more decorative finish. Then I fished one end of the ribbon through the base and tied it on so that the ends hang below the main section of the headdress. I repeated the same process with the blue picot ribbon, varying the lengths and weaving it through different areas of the base to create more visual interest. Once I liked how everything looked, I tightly twisted the ends of the floral wire to secure everything into place. I trimmed away the excess wire and then tucked the raw ends up into the headpiece so they wouldn't be able to poke me while I'm wearing it. Alright, here's one side kind of done. It's just all kind of roughly woven in or wired in, so nothing's like super permanent, nothing's glued or stitched in, so I can edit it if I want to. It's a little bigger than I intended, but I don't hate it. It might be considered borderline tacky, but I can always change it if I decide I don't like it. I think other than maybe adding one more of the pie cot ribbon that's kind of like about as long as this sheer one right here, I think I'm done with that side. Now the hard part is kind of trying to get the other side to match. For side 2, it's pretty much just repeating the same steps as side 1. Here's an up-close shot of how the flower bouquet is wrapped onto the headband base. Then it's just adjusting the little faces so that they all face forward, wrapping on the ribbon for the headband base, gather up the first half, secure it, add on the second half and secure that, arrange everything so it looks full and cohesive, and then add the dangling ribbons to finish it off. Alright, side number 2 is finished. I'm trying to decide, this top part looks like it needs to be played around with a little bit more. It's not quite as full, but other than that, I like it. It's very feminine. And the beauty of this is that it's just all wired on. Wow, that really does grab hair. But it's all just wired in, so it doesn't even have to look great on the inside. If you wanted to, you could maybe, like, if you were afraid that it's going to irritate you, you could maybe glue or stitch in some, like, felt or fabric or, like, foam. That way, like, if you're afraid of, like, the wires and stuff, but I've never really had issue with it. Other than that, it's done. Pretty simple. Cute. Nice thing to wear if your hair doesn't turn out. Now this one stays on pretty good. Like, I can rock around without it wanting to fall off. Now some of mine are like slicker than this one, so like this one, we just sewed in some of the hair clips. If you can see, there's a little hole on there that we just stitch it on, and let me see if I can put this on. Basically, you just open both of the clips. Let me take this off. And you can just start kind of further back than you're thinking of ending and just kind of slide it in your hair. And then you just, this is the hard part, is getting it to clamp shut. Slide this one in. If I can get it. Oh, that's because I accidentally clamped it. Slide that one in and then snap it shut. Then you've got little bows. Wow, I didn't do that very well, but you get the idea. They snap in, and that way they don't fall out. And then you just undo it. Or, where's my other one? Ah. I wear this one all the time with my Dickens dresses, and it has 2 extra long ties, and they did do this sometimes back in the day, but yeah, it's got 2 ties. That kind of makes it like a halo that sits around like this part of your head, like that. So, see if I can do this without too much fuss. So, sits like that. And this little tie, it could maybe stand to be a little bit tighter, but pretty much keeps it on. A little bit tighter would really keep it on. And none of these are pretty, they're all wired in. You want to see? Doesn't have to be pretty on the inside, it just has to be pretty on the outside. Like this one. It's all wires. But this one, it just kind of sits too. So really it's like, it's a mixture of the tension that is put on it this way and the weight. So it's really just kind of fiddling with it. If it doesn't turn out tight enough, you can always put a ribbon on it to tie it back like a halo, or you can use the hair clips. I know some of our costuming people, they'll do like combs that they sew into their hats to like help kind of keep on. So maybe you could do a comb too, but the clips hold just fine. But I like to wear these instead of a bonnet, because I'm not like a big bonnet person unless it's cold. I'd rather wear a headdress. The wings are out in force. I guess we could just pretend they're